Welcome to my weekly market roundup, 6th March 2021. I am Sagar Nandi, retired IT professional, swing trading stocks using the Q systems and techniques that I developed. You may contact me using my email ID tradingprofitably@gmail.com. I regularly share live market and stock analysis on my website, YouTube channel, and Twitter page. You are most welcome to make use of them. Disclaimer: this demonstration is for educational purposes only. I am not an investment advisor. It is not a trade recommendation. Trading involves risk. You and only you are solely responsible for the outcome of your trades. These are the systems I use in my live trading, and these are the same systems I'll use today. They run on the underlying TradeStation and Metastock platforms. That was the last slide of the presentation. Let's continue with the live system. Starting with the global markets analysis. For the global markets, I am using the Q Global system running on Metastock using the standard weekly daily at a glance template. In the weekly chart, after displaying the bearish headwind and indecision indicators, price has come down. It came down to the trendline support. This week closed with bearish backdrop color and bearish shape, but it is just on top of the trendline support. In the daily, it is inside a triangle pattern, closed right above the trendline support. Because it is inside a triangle pattern, the direction is not clear and will not take any trade in AXJO right now. Over longer period, it is in an uptrend. Japanese market index topics. After displaying the bearish headwind and the indecision candle in weekly and daily respectively, price pulled back right to the trendline support in weekly. At that time, I had mentioned that price was likely to go up from the trendline support. That happened this week. This week closed with bearish color in the weekly and indecisive shape. In the daily, after displaying the indecision indicator, price came down right to the trendline support. On Friday and also on Thursday, price tried to go below the trendline support but recovered. Friday has neutral color candle, bullish shape, and Friday also created a reversal candle. That is looking bullish and price is at trendline support both in the daily and weekly. From that, it seems price will go up from here. That is more likely than price going down. Therefore, we are going to look for long trades in the Japanese market right now. Over longer term, it was and it is still in an uptrend. Next, China market. CSI 300 index. It is relatively weaker compared to Australia and Japanese markets, and that is what I observed in the last market roundup also. It has come down in the daily, what we call extreme move from the upper boundary right to the lower boundary. Therefore, the direction is not clear anymore. If the stock or instrument is in an uptrend, usually it tends to stay between the upper boundary and the middle portion of the upper and lower boundary. When an instrument comes right from the upper to the lower boundary, then it is not in a confirmed uptrend anymore. The recent low has been broken. It is not having higher low anymore. So it is not in an uptrend, direction is not clear. Weekly also has bearish backdrop color. Shape is slightly more bearish than neutral. we'll avoid trying to take any new long trades in CSI 300. Over longer term, it is still in an uptrend. Next, UK FTSE index. This is moving inside a triangle pattern in daily, bound by trendline resistance and trendline support. Direction is not clear. Friday's candle is also indecisive, both in shape and in color. Weekly reversed from the trendline resistance. Backdrop color is bullish, the shape is indecisive. In any case, because the daily is inside a range, triangle pattern, direction is not clear, we will not take any long trade now. Over longer term, this is also in an uptrend. Lastly, India's Nifty 50 index that used to be the strongest of the global markets. Let's check that out. After displaying the bearish headwind in the weekly, price pulled back. This week's candle color is remaining bearish, shape is mixed. Shape is not bearish. In the daily, if we see the last couple of weeks, price is moving inside a range. It could not breach the watermark that was created by the all-time high here. At the same time, it didn't breach the trend line supports. Over last couple of weeks, it is moving sideways. Friday's candle shape is indecisive. There is a trend line support, multiple trend line supports nearby. Therefore, we are not going to take any short trade. And because Friday's candle shape is neutral, color is bearish, we are not going to take any long trade also. I'll be happy to see that price is coming and hitting the trend line support and going up from there, from one of the trend line supports. That will give low risk buying opportunity in fundamentally strong stocks. Over longer term, it is in an uptrend and it is continuing to be the strongest of the global markets. Let's now look at the USA market. I'll do that using market ETFs and I'll use Q Elite running on TradeStation for that. S&P 500 ETF SPY, after displaying the bearish headwind in weekly and daily, price pulled back. I was talking to a Q trader last day or one day before that, and I pointed to the trend line support, multiple supports that were and still are in the daily Q entry chart, and looking at that I mentioned that I closed all my short positions. My swing trades are having average holding period of about 5 trading days. I took some short trades when I saw the go with flow short setup in IWM, not in SPY, in IWM. I might have shorted some other instruments also. However, when I saw that SPY was having trendline support and several other instruments also had support, market instruments, I decided to book my profit in the short positions. That was useful because on Thursday also it bounced up from trendline support and Friday it bounced up again. Thursday's candle shape was mixed. Friday's candle shape is bullish. This is looking similar to the Japanese market, isn't it? Let's look at the Japanese market again. On Thursday, the candle color was still bearish, but it bounced up from trendline support. Friday bounced up again with neutral color bullish shape. The same pattern is there in the SPY. What does it mean? It means that the technique that we use in the USA market can be used in global markets and vice versa. Looking at the trend line support, you would exit short positions, be it in the Japanese market or in the USA market. That would be useful. Right now, looking at the bullish shape candle on Friday, the indecision bullish indication on Friday, high volume reversal with high pressure. It seems more likely that price will go up from here. The SPY itself is not giving any buy setup because the weekly is bearish color, but there are plenty of other instruments that are giving buy setups. In fact, though SPY is not giving any trend following long trade setup because the backdrop color is magenta in weekly bearish, it may be giving a bounce setup in daily. Bounce setup that relies on a sudden and sharp drop to a pre-existing trendline support and going up from there with high volume or high pressure doesn't have any requirement on the weekly chart. So SPY might have given a bounce long setup. We may confirm that from sonar on Q Elite, that is radar on TradeStation, or we could use Q Finder on Q Global also, Metastock. Let's put SPY on Q Sonar. Indeed, it has a bounce setup. In fact, it has also given a pullback setup. Interestingly, it happened that I released the latest edition of Q Elite with the pullback indication just a couple of days ago, and it turned out to be very timely. Why? Because as of Friday's close, a large number of stocks are giving pullback buy setups. And not only in any stocks, but fundamentally strong stocks, even high growth stocks. So we'll look at some of them probably. SPY itself is also giving a bounce and pullback long setup. And we can see that it has bullish U-turn, bullish pressure, very high volume, indecision, bullish indecision at the bottom, touching trend line support, bouncing up from trend line support, pullback. Many bullish indications. Therefore, my decision to exit my short position was timely. In fact, if I look at IWM, I pointed out in a prior webinar when this candle was magenta. The webinar was right on that day. I explained that we had a go with flow short setup using the unambiguous Q checklists. I took a short trade at that time. I used verticals, put verticals. Then when price came here, that day also I happened to have one webinar, and on that day I mentioned about not overstaying the welcome period for a vertical trade setup. Meaning usually if I take a vertical, put vertical in this case, long put vertical, I set my profit target to 50% of max profit. However, when price came to the yellow direction line for IWM, it was reversing from there. I noticed SPY was reversing from trend line support. The 50% of max profit target was not hit. It was at about 40% of max profit, but I did not overstay my welcome period. I exited my trade, and that was useful because next day Friday price recovered strongly for IWM also. It also has an indecision at the bottom bullish candle. In fact, the release of this indication was also very timely. As of Friday, a large number of stocks, not only any stock, but fundamentally strong stocks have displayed this indecision at the bottom bullish candle. We'll look at some of them. IWM pattern is also looking like it is going to go up. However, it has no trend line support, so it is not giving any bounce setup. Is it giving any pullback setup? Probably yes. Let's check it out from Q Elite Sonar. Yes, it has given a pullback setup. The pullback setup is working very beautifully. Remember to apply it only in an instrument which is in an uptrend overall and then pulling back significantly and then starting to go up again. If you have that pattern, then you can confidently apply the pullback setup. You may apply it on market ETFs, or even better, you may apply it on fundamentally strong stocks that are also in strong industries or accelerating industries. SPY, IWM both seems to tell price is going to go up from here. Let's look at DIA. In the previous webinars, several of them, I mentioned I was not going to short DIA because it had trendline support in weekly, and that was very useful. You can see this week it has a bullish shape candle and bullish color candle, not weak at all. Thursday went up from the yellow direction line and weekly memory support. Friday it went up again from the yellow direction line. Again it went up from the weekly memory support. Friday's candle shape, color, both are bullish. Friday had bullish pressure, bullish flow. This is probably the most bullish market ETF right now. And my decision earlier that I expressed publicly before knowing the result that I was not going to short DIA at all was very useful. I could do that because of the unambiguous nature of the Q systems. Lastly, QQQ. This was the weakest of the market ETFs in recent weeks. In fact, if you look back, after displaying the bearish headwinds, price rolled over sharply. This is probably the only market ETF that was down by more than 10% from the top. As of the Friday's close, it is not 10% below all-time or 52-week high, but at the bottom of Friday's candle, it was more than 10% below 52-week high. We can check that out from here. From the top to the low of Friday, it was down by 11.86%. You can see the percentage, the third number from the bottom in the pop-up. From the all-time high to Friday's low, it was down by 11.86%. That is called correction. And if I look at Friday's close, it is down 8.4%. Let's say 8.4%. So it has recovered from below 10% correction. It also has displayed the indecision candle. If we put DIA and QQQ also on Sonar, what we can see that 3 of the 4 market ETFs, IWM, SPY, DIA, they have displayed a pullback buy setup. SPY also have bounce setup after touching memory trend line. DIA has bullish flow. It may be too high in the price pattern to take a go with flow long trade, but it has a bullish flow. So overall, the market ETFs are quite bullish. Seems price will go up. That is more likely now. And that is the Q technique. We were shorting at the top quite confidently based on the headwind signals, and we shorted the fundamentally weak stocks. Now I see several people are indecisive as of Friday's close, but we don't have to be if we are using Q systems. There are plenty of stocks giving pullback setups or bounce setups. We'll have a look at some of them, but before that, let's look at the other aspects of market, that is sector industry rotation, strength, and also technical breadths. Let me show you two graphs before going to Q Edge. I created those graphs using Q Edge. This is a graph I used to show from time to time. created from QH. It shows sector performance of the current week and compares that with the previous week. In the current week, you can see 9 sectors went up, only 2 went down. That is very bullish. And if you see the red bars, the percentage move of the sectors in this week, they are quite sizable. Only 2 sectors went down, healthcare and information technology. They have many high growth stocks. And 1 week ago, it was balanced. 5 sectors were up, 6 were down. Healthcare and infotech are down for 2 successive weeks. And these are the only 2 sectors that are down for 2 successive weeks. On the other hand, several sectors are up for 2 successive weeks. Energy is of course the best performer by far, up for 2 weeks in a row. Same is true for communication services, financials, and consumer discretionary real estate. So 5 sectors, 2, 2 and 1. 5 sectors went up for 2 weeks in a row. Only 2 sectors went down for 2 weeks in a row, and the others flip-flopped. Overall, the sector pattern is showing a bullish picture. And this week, if we want to have a look at the worst performing industries on Friday, not this week, but Friday, you can see worst performing industries. Only 3 industries were down. Only 3 out of about 147. It seems laser facilities is unchanged. So 143 up, 3 down, laser facilities unchanged. Only 3 industries down on a day. That is a very bullish day, isn't it? The down industries are airlines, motorcycle manufacturers, hotel resorts, and cruise lines. Every other industry went up on Friday. That is a very bullish market. Let's now look at the QH insights. The percentage of stocks in the extended bucket greater than 10. That jumped up from 0.7 to 14 point, let's say 14.7. So it's a jump of 14%, 14% in one day. In the past, in several webinars, I mentioned, observed and shared in the YouTube sessions that on a particular day, and we can see that in real time also, when the percentage jump in the most extended bucket is 10 to 15% or more, it usually leads to a pullback. But that time the context was different. That time the price was at a higher level for the market ETFs futures. On Friday also it jumped up by 14%. However, that was in a different context. Price had pulled back for a few days. So I am not thinking that this huge jump in one day in the percentage of stocks in the extended bucket, it is a sign of exhaustion. I am not thinking that. It is probably showing a bullish reversal from the bottom. Friday, 100% of sectors went up, 97% of industries went up, 90% of stocks went up, and we can see the sectors went up by large percentages. If we look at the very useful 1 month to 1 day sector, industry, stock, advanced decline, breadth inside, this is bullish. There is no other way of putting it. 1 month period was bullish, seems like forever. And now all the other periods have also turned bullish. This is a bullish market, no doubt about it. No other way of putting it. It's bullish. Let's look at the technical breadth now. We could look at some more insight from QH, but I would like to look at some stocks. So let me skip the insights from QH and go to technical breadth. Find a picture that shows the balance between bullish and bearish signals First, looking at the weekly period, all signals 62% bullish, strength signals 49% bullish, trend continuation 66% bullish, reversal signals 56% bullish. Overall, the weekly technical breadth is bullish. And I ran this technical breadth analysis on S&P 1500 and liquid stocks. That is bullish, no other way of putting it. Even the reversals are bullish, everything is bullish. Strength signals are balanced, overall it is bullish. And if we look at Friday's picture, that is very bullish. Almost as bullish as one can get. 93% of all signals bullish, 92% of strength signals, 91% of trend continuation, and 97% of reversal signals. Across all the four categories, more than 90% of stocks are bullish. That is very bullish. And this bullish move happened after a market correction. QQQ corrected by more than 10%, other market ETFs corrected by less percentage, but it was after a correction. Therefore, I am more thinking of it as a bullish reversal and as a buying opportunity where the stop loss will be very narrow. Q finder technical breadth is clearly bullish. Now let's look at Q market breadth studies. First, let's look at the custom index mega cap top 20. It had trendline support in weekly, two of them. Price tried to go below that in the previous week and also this week and sharply reversed. The backdrop color is bearish, shape is mixed, however it did reverse and held the trendline support. In the daily it came to the trendline support and precisely reversed from there, displaying an indecision at the bottom bullish candle. Friday's candle is bullish in shape, neutral in color. It had a bull release signal as well. This is not a point to short the mega cap stocks because it is right at trendline support, reverse from the trendline support in weekly, daily both. If anything, it seems like it will go up. So from mega cap point of view also, it is looking bullish. Let's look at the market internals using percentage MA and new high low advanced decline up down volume. For percentage MA calculation, I'm going to use the daily interval, the major markets, that is Dow Jones, Nasdaq 100, S&P 1500, S&P 500. Percentage of stocks are 50 MA above 200 MA. For Dow Jones, it has now rolled over. It came below the average line. The same is true for Nasdaq 100. For S&P 1500, it is still holding above the average line. For S&P 500, in previous webinars also I showed that it already rolled over. And the other two calculations, they rolled over quite a while ago. Stocks above 50 MA, the yellow lines, stocks above 200 MA, the white lines, they all rolled over, came below their respective average lines. That was one of the indications that helped us protect profit in long positions and look for shorting opportunities at the top. And now we see prices reversing from trendline support in multiple ETFs, mega cap stocks. Now we are going to cover all the short positions. I have already done that, and looking for buying opportunities. I have already taken some long trades on Friday. Let's look at new high low advanced decline up down volume. For that we'll use the weekly interval on the same four major markets. Advanced decline and up down volume was showing a bearish divergence. That seems to be taken out now by this week's peak going above a trend line if you drew that using the prior peaks. for most of the major markets, that bearish divergence is not there anymore. It has played out. This week's move is also bullish in terms of advanced decline and up down volume, and new high low was bullish all throughout. It was not bearish enough. Now let's look at the very useful market breadth total view. And at this point, let me point to one tweet. A few days ago, I observed something on the market breadth total view. That was on 4th March. This was on 4th March. And I noted that though price was coming down after this large accumulation count, by the way, when this accumulation count came, I commented on Twitter that it was probably a false move, luring people to buy because it was coming at the top. Everything was up, and I tweeted that it may lead to a down move. That happened. It moved down for 3 days in a row. However, none of those days, down days, had any distribution count. And see how I could observe that and change my market view. I commented that though the market SPY fell again today along with the other market indices, the Q market breadth did not show a distribution day. That is continuing to temper my bearish view of the market. There was no distribution day for these 3 days, and this was a tweet I shared on 4th March. And let's see today. Right after that, this was 4th March, on 5th March, Friday, price reversed, and we now have a accumulation count of 1. That is because of Dow Jones. And remember, I showed and I mentioned that I was not going to short Dow Jones because it had trendline support. We also have the accumulation count because of Dow Jones. So all these are coming together and helping us decide unambiguously what to do. The accumulation count is not large enough to say it is a follow through day or anything like that. However, it is still an accumulation count that is also showing that if anything, market is going to go up from here. We looked at the market from many angles, from global markets, from USA market ETFs, from sector analysis, from technical breadth, from market internals, percentage MA calculations, and also market breadth total view. Everything is pointing to a possible move upward. If you look at the events for next week, economic events, I use Zenith or icon for that. Monday and Tuesday, there is no major event. I'm filtering the events by medium to high impact events. There is no medium to high impact events on Monday and Tuesday. Usually you will notice that when Friday's candles, Friday's market, Friday's industry sector analysis, Friday's internal market studies, market breadth, everything is bullish, and Monday and Tuesday doesn't have major events, the bullish momentum of Friday tends to continue. Not guaranteed, but it tends to continue because there is no event that is countering that momentum of Friday. That is also pointing to a possible up move in the beginning of the next week. Then there are some events on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, but at least Monday, Tuesday, I think this is another reason that the market may go up in the beginning of the next week. Now let's look at some of the trade ideas that I shared. Some I shared when the market was still dropping before Friday, and those were Kroger and CYH. Let's look at the post. I think I shared it on the forum. It is important to look at the post so that we look at the charts as of the time I analyzed them. This was the post 2 days ago on 4th March. Pullback buy setups today and yesterday, that is still within the buying range. They were in CYH and Kroger KR. I looked at them from different angles. The Q Elite sonar showed that CYH had a pullback setup, also a possible bounce setup after touching trendline support. It had very high volume, stock in an uptrend shown by the direction column, bullish traffic light candle. The candle turned bullish in daily on that day. Relative performance was bullish, it was outperforming the market. That was the reading of CYH, one healthcare stock. And Kroger had high bullish volume, but it didn't have any pullback setup on that day. However, if you used Q Finder, you could see that Kroger had a pullback setup one day earlier. In Q Finder that runs with Q Global, the orange signals are today's signal, green signals are yesterday's signal. So Kroger had a pullback setup one day earlier and it had a gap up open on the day I shared it. It also had a bullish flow one day earlier. And price didn't move much from that point. Let's look at the two charts that I shared at that time. This is CYH, stock in an uptrend, pull back to support, stop at the yellow direction line, probably even more importantly for Q traders, stopped right at the trend line support, closed higher, closed above the yellow direction line. Very high volume. Importantly, had a reversal candle. This was giving a pullback setup. It had an upper tail, therefore following Q guideline, instead of taking the trade at the close of the day, you could open it next day. The weekly color was bearish, that is expected. That is the difference between go with flow and pullback setup. In go with flow setup, the requirement is for the weekly to be in bullish color, but pullback setup is using a more deeper pullback from the top. Because of the deeper pullback, we don't expect the weekly color to be bullish or cyan. But if you see here the weekly candles, 3 weeks in a row, long lower tails, that is showing that buyers are stepping in around this $8 price level. And it seems more likely price would go up from here. This is what I shared. When I shared it, market was still bearish at that time. And see Kroger, the other stock in an uptrend, pull back to support, come to white yellow direction line, probably even more importantly for Q traders, came to the trend line support. One day earlier, it already went up from all three of them: trend line support, white direction line, yellow direction line, closed above yellow line. That's why one day earlier it already gave a pullback setup. That's what you could see from Q Finder. And when I shared it, it went up but didn't go up massively. We still have open space, long distance to go before hitting the next resistance. Even the upper boundary is some distance away. It went up with very high volume. In this case, the weekly was also bullish, both in color and shape. Weekly was going up from trendline support. So the weekly also allowed us to buy in case of Kroger. This is what I shared using the newly designed pullback setup on Q Elite. Q Finder already had the pullback setup. These were two pullback setups, and another reason I shared them, and as you know, I only like to buy fundamentally strong stocks. See their fundamentals. Both CYH and Kroger KR had, and I think even now, just a few days ago I shared it, excellent valuation and very high earnings growth. Not only in the last quarter, you can see for 3 successive quarters, both of these stocks have excellent earnings growth, strong earnings quality also. That's why I shared it, and also I mentioned, as you know, CYH, KR, both are in defensive sectors or industries. Healthcare facilities for CYH and food retail for Kroger. Because the market was looking weak, I identified these two trades. They are still in play. We may have a look at them. This is Kroger continuing to go up after I shared it. And if I look at CYH, the same trend line support in daily is continuing to hold. Now the week is over and we have long lower tail in the weekly. Both are pointing to a possible up move rather than a down move. And even if it comes down, the stop is narrow for both of these stocks. That is a constant for all my trade ideas. Remember, I shared these two ideas when the market was still dropping. If we look at SPY, I shared it on this day before market close, I think. So market was still dropping, but I could confidently share some buying ideas. And yesterday market was recovering from trendline support. That was more easy to share buying ideas. And interestingly, I'm listening to many people attended some weekly market roundup recording also. Listen to that video, and I'm part of several chat groups. People are finding it difficult apparently Friday. But to me, Friday seems quite straightforward and simple. Why so? Because I am not overthinking anything. Q systems have unambiguous checklists. I am applying them. I am seeing several market ETFs are giving pullback setups. If so, I know instantly that many stocks are going to give pullback or other buy setups. I shared one of them on Friday. Let's look at that. Again, a very strong fundamental stock, this stock. On Friday, I shared it around 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, PFSI, and it had a pullback, go with flow, box, and pressure, all bullish technical signals in an undervalued plus high growth stock. Only I was waiting for a breakout to happen. PFSI. Let's look at the signals. Using Q sonar on TradeStation, I could see it had a box setup, pullback setup, go with flow trend following long setup with bullish pressure at pendulum high, stock in an uptrend, daily candle traffic light change to bullish, relative performance strong, outperforming the market. Since open it was up by 5.3%. Relative to Thursday's close, when I shared it, it was up by 6.5%. False move is also important. It tried to go down but reversed. That is a false move of 2.7% bullish. And on top of that, it completed a reversal. That is, it went above previous day's high. So there were many bullish signals you could find from QSonar. What else did I share? The industry score. Relatively speaking, the industry score came down. Relatively speaking, the industry being thrifts and mortgage finance, or if you looked at alternate industry banks, relatively speaking, these two industries were not the strongest. That's why the industry score came down on Friday. However, if you looked at the percentage move of the industry, it actually went up. So in itself, the industry was becoming stronger. Thrift and mortgage finance industry, from being down by more than 1%, it was up by more than 1%. And banks on Thursday down by about 0.6%. Friday open by 2.1, up by 2.1%. So though relatively speaking, the score declined, in itself the industry was getting stronger. Turn around also, turning around from being negative to positive between Thursday and Friday. That was reason enough from industry perspective to look for a buy setup. And see the strength of the stock in terms of Q fundamental score. Great valuation, short squeeze potential, fantastic earnings growth for 3 quarters, 3 years. Wow, earnings growth, you may say. Great earnings growth, and also revenue growth. Fantastic revenue growth for 3 quarters, 3 years. Makes money. When I shared it, it was up by 6.2%. 86% stocks in the industry went up. Fundamentally, it is a very strong stock. Also pays a small dividend, 1.3%. Everything was strong in terms of fundamentals. And in terms of technical, we already saw the signals from Q Sonar. Let's read them again. It had a box setup that is using the bull release signal with high pressure. Bull release shown here also. It also created a false downside breakout at the trend line support. It tried to go below the trend line support, showing people that it may be breaking the support, but immediately reversed on Friday with a strong bullish candle. It was a false downside breakout, possible box setup, bullish flow. Also, it had trend line support in weekly. Only thing I was waiting for, and I mentioned in the post, that there was a trend line resistance. So only thing to wait for is a breakout. If you were observing it and you could take note of it, why could you observe it? Because you could keep a list of the star fundamental stocks, that is value stocks with high growth. In this case, both earnings and revenue high growth. So if you keep a list like that, and you don't have to actually create a list like that, you can use QVital to generate the list in real time in a few seconds, so that you have the accurate list of stocks every day, every minute. Because QVital, like other Q systems, works in real time, we don't have to create offline lists of stocks like that. So you would usually, or I would, many other Q traders also create those lists dynamically every day and keep an eye on them. If you did that, you could buy it right when it was reversing back above the trend line support. If not, at the end of the market, you could probably wait for next day to see prices breaking above trend line support. Or as I do sometimes, you could take a small initial position in anticipation of a breakout, but not take full position because the breakout was not complete. In terms of industry strength and fundamental strength, even technical strength, it is looking very strong. Only thing is, it is to break above the trend line resistance. We'll see how it plays out on Monday. Now let's look at several pullback setups. Because why pullback? Because just now we released the pullback technical setup on Q Elite. Let's do that. And I mentioned we can create the fundamentally strong stocks list dynamically. Let's do that. Let's go to the universe of stocks. We have the liquid stocks and we have the mid-price stocks, high-price stocks, low-price stocks. Let's look at the mid-price stocks. They tend to move the most. The low-price stocks have many penny stocks, speculative. High-price stocks may or may not move so much. Mid-price stocks tend to move the most. So I focus usually on the mid-price stocks. These are all liquid stocks. Let's look at them. And this is how I create the list dynamically using a few clicks. I don't have to maintain offline list, create offline lists. Q Vital has created the scorecard. Let's look at the scorecard. These are the stocks. I'm going to click on these two buttons. This one, green battery, to smart select the value stocks, and then I could select high growth stocks using the quarterly growth button, or I could select extremely high growth stock in the latest quarter. For this time, let me choose this one. So value stocks, you can see all the value stocks came, and extreme high growth, more than 100% growth in the last quarter, these stocks came. CRLGY, a stock that I shared a few days earlier, and CPFSI, the stock that I shared on Friday. This is also another way you could locate the candidates. Now I can see there are many stocks in this list went up by more than 2%. Let's select them, and I'm going to use QLit. First, I click this button. I didn't have to scroll to the right to get the ticker symbol. Remember, QVital uses Reuters or Refinitiv data, so it uses Reuters symbology. That is different from TradeStation ticker symbol. But when I click this button, it automatically knows that I am transferring data from QVital to TradeStation, QElite Sonar. It automatically copies the ticker symbols. I didn't have to go to the right side and manually select the ticker symbols. I have seen some traders do that. You could do that also, select the ticker symbols from here, but that is like spending more time than you need to. Instead, you could just highlight all the stocks of your interest, let's say stocks that moved up by at least 2%. And which stocks are these? These are liquid mid-price stocks with great valuation and fantastic earnings growth in the last quarter. Click the Sonar or Radar button and go to TradeStation Sonar. Right click paste or choose Ctrl V hotkeys. Let's see how many of them are giving pullback setup. I'm expecting quite a few, and I'm carrying out this exercise along with you all. Didn't prepare for it earlier. I'm expecting several of them to give bounce setup or pullback setup or box setup, maybe even headwind, but more likely bounce, box, pullback. Those are reversal setups, especially bounce, headwind, box. These are reversals. Pullback is still in an uptrend stock. For a stock in an uptrend, bounce, headwind, box are stocks in downtrend. Because the market was weak for a few days, individual stocks might have come down by bigger percentage. And now you can see in this list, ASX 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stocks have pullback setup possible. 1, 2, 3, 4 has bounce setup possible, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stocks has possible box setup. From this column, you can see some of them went up by big percentages. Let's look at a stock CANG. Why I'm looking at that? It closed 7.1% higher, and it had a false move which is even bigger. So initially it tried to go down and reversed. False move of 13% bullish, touched a trendline support, bounced up from the trendline support, touched and then bounced from there. Also has a bull release, reversed from watermark support, giving a possible box setup. We could look at that. PFSI we saw already had many bullish setups. I shared that already. Let's look at CANG. Okay, let me link the two pages. Click again. Very nice, isn't it? This is a pullback setup. Stock in an uptrend, pullback to support. Here it stops at the, okay, not strictly pullback. It didn't regain the yellow direction line. However, it stopped right at the trend line support. Very important. Stopped at the white direction line. Had an bullish indecision at the bottom candle. Bullish shape candle. Bull release. I don't mind buying this stock. Great fundamentals. Pulled back, stopped right at the trend line support in daily. It is giving a bounce setup. Is it? Let's look at the Sonar. Yes, it's giving a bounce setup. So bounce setup doesn't have any requirement on the weekly chart. It has to drop sharply suddenly to an existing trendline support with high volume, reverse and close above previous day's close with a bullish shape candle. All those conditions are met. In addition, we have a support from y direction line, extra signal, bullish signal in our favor. We also have bull release, extra signal in our favor. We have indecision at the bottom, bullish candle. We have three extra signals in our favor other than the necessary conditions for a bounce long setup. So CANG is giving a bounce long setup. Let's check out its fundamentals. Industry strength fundamentals is very strong. If we look at its industry, the industry was much weaker earlier. It improved, and that is showing up as acceleration that is allowing us to buy. We can buy either based on strength in recent days or based on acceleration. The acceleration allows us to buy. And if I look at the alternate industry, business support services, there also we can see the score improving. If we look at the percentage change, the scores that we saw just now, that is relative score. You can see the relative score for both the industry and alternate industry going up, but probably even more importantly, see the jump or turn around reversal in the percentage move of the industry. For primary industry, internet and direct marketing retail, from negative minus 1.25 percentage move on Thursday, Friday it went up by, no, this is over 2 days, is down, but on Friday it is up by large 2.2%. The alternate industry on Friday is up by a large 2.7%. So the industry in itself is very strong. That clearly allows us to buy. So CANG is a fundamentally strong stock in a strong industry, giving a low risk bounce setup. Let's look at a few more setup. We have 3 more minutes. You may carry out similar exercise on your computer. And important thing, again, let me revisit it. You don't have to create a list of these great fundamental stocks with fantastic earnings growth. You may generate them with a few single clicks. That makes trading simple. We don't have to focus on the tools too much. We focus on the market instead. Let's come back here. Let's look at the stocks having large number of signals. PFSI, we already looked at it, remove it. CANG, looked at it, removed it. Let's look at this one, BZH. Why I came here? Because it closed 3.2% higher, but see the false move, 9.5%. Those are important signals. This sonar has many important signals. The more you read the signals in a particular row, the more you get to know the stock even before opening the chart. After open, it went up by 1.2%. From Thursday's close, went up by 3.2%. But see the false move. That is instantly showing it tried to go down in the beginning and a huge false move, bullish false move, 9.5%. And what did it do? It touched a trend line support, reversed from trend line support. As I mentioned, when SPY is doing that, I expect many stocks to do that. When SPY is giving a pullback setup, I expect many stocks to do that also. This is one of them. It also has an indecisive bullish candle at the bottom. It is already at pendulum high in an uptrend. And it is fundamentally very strong. Let's look at this stock. Very nice, isn't it? It has excellent trend line support in weekly also. Multiple trend line support in daily. Indecision at the bottom candle. Very bullish shape candle. This long lower tail stopped out many weak hands. In fact, if you were observing it, again, why would you observe it? You could observe it because this is one of those great stock star candidates you would like to buy. And you could buy it right when it went below the trendline support and reversed back above it. So you could buy it right at this point, putting stop at the day's low. At the close of the day, you could buy also, but there is a trendline resistance nearby. So this is not my most favorite candidate. This is somewhat similar to PFSI. Let's look at PFSI, but PFSI, the trendline resistance is very near. Probably on Monday's open, it will go above it. This is PFSI. The trendline resistance is very near to Friday's close. Probably Monday it will open above the trendline resistance. So I would like to buy PFSI more than this stock. Let's look at one last stock before we end. Let's look at pullback. Let's try to find some more pullback. BGH we have seen already. Let's look at DKS, Dick Sporting. Let's read the signals. From open up by 2.2%. On a closing basis, from Thursday's close up by 2.6, but see the false move bigger than the close to close percentage. That instantly shows it tries to go down first and reversed. Reverse from where? Touch trendline support, bounced up from trendline support, gave a pullback setup. Again, when I saw SPY is bouncing from trendline support, SPY is giving pullback setup, I know many individual stocks are likely to do that. This is again another one of those. Also has a possible box setup, very high volume, again an indecision at the bottom, bullish candle, already at pendulum high, the stock in an uptrend. Very strong stock fundamentally. Remember, we are just looking at not only simple star candidates which are having fantastic earnings growth. Here in the weekly, we have again a trend line support. Very strong support from memory trend line in weekly. Very strong support from memory trend line in daily. Also has a pullback candidate because price regained the yellow direction line. White direction line is already below it. Indecision at the bottom, bullish candle, bullish shape candle, neutral color, bull release, very high volume. Many bullish signals here. Again, if you were observing it, you could buy right at the bottom when it went below the trend line support and reversed back above that using fine-tuned chart. At the close also, I think it is giving a good buy setup. But let's check its industry. Fundamentals, very strong. We already know that. DKS. Where is DKS? One way, sometimes when I want to look at the stocks alphabetically, right now it is sorted by percentage change. I click the scissors button to focus only on the stocks of my interest. What are these stocks? Great value stocks, fantastic earnings growth, went up by at least large percentage on Friday. Now I can sort by the symbol and I should have DKS here. No? Okay, I'm looking at different list probably. Okay, maybe I change the list, no problem. Let's find out the DKS fundamentals using Vital. DKS, right? It should be one of those star candidates. Yes, much more than star candidate. Great valuation, fantastic earnings quality, very high earnings growth, steady revenue growth. 76% of stocks went up on Friday in this industry. And if I check the industry's relative score, On Friday, relatively, it is weak, but it has acceleration over 5 days. Sometimes we need to look at the percentage change because relatively the score may be coming down compared to 5-day period. So compared to 2-day period, it went up. But here, more importantly, we see that it went up, the industry went up by 1.1%, or if you look at the alternate industry, went up by 1.8%. So that allows us to buy. When the market is very strong, every industry is going up, we may not look at only at the relative score, but also at the actual move up in the industry, and the industry went up. Fundamentally very strong stock, so that allows us to buy. Let's, yes, fundamental industry, technical, everything is pointing to a possible buy setup. When you carry out this exercise, here I carried out the fundamental first approach, looked at the stock's fundamental scores, focused on stocks with great valuation and fantastic earnings growth, looked at the stocks went up significantly on Friday, put them on Q sonar and looked at different setups. We found many pullback setups and bounce setups also. I expected that because SPY also did the same. There are plenty of other buying opportunities right now in great fundamental stocks. I don't think it is a difficult market because those are all low risk candidates. That is a constant in on Qtrade setups. As I mentioned, I am already long a few of them and I may buy more on Monday depending on how it opens on Monday. We are past 1 hour time. Let's end today's session here. Thanks a lot for joining. I look forward to seeing you in our next session that will be on Wednesday, probably 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'll notify on Twitter, and if you are following me on my YouTube channel, you will get notified from there also. Thanks once again. Have a great weekend, and as I always say, no reason not to do that. Trade profitably. Thank you.